Shalom everybody, this is Sephora Green from artisticministry.net, and I just wanted to do a quick vid. I know it's been a while since I've actually done one. I've just had a lot going on. Can you see the bags? Okay, there's a lot going on, a lot of lack of sleep, just burning the candle at both ends. So I'm just really busy, but I'm still, you guys are all still in my prayers, and I just wanted to do this really, I just wanted to share something, really. That's really all I wanted to do. And it was something that really just kind of just moved me, and I've been thinking about it for a couple of days, and I finally decided that I would just do this video and share it. And I hope that it can be just a source of inspiration and strength for you, for all righteous TIs. And if so, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this. It was just the other day, it was the Sabbath. I had an opportunity to listen to a interview on a channel by I can't think of the name of the actual group right now, but I'm going to put a link to that interview in the description box beneath this video, so that you get a chance to hear it. But the fellow was listening. He was interviewing a woman who was a victim of SRA, the satanic ritual abuse. And for many of us, even though that might not be what we're dealing with, we know that is one of the components or elements that is used in targeting and gang stalking, is the satanic assaults and violations and such. And so I was listening to this interview. It was a woman who had she had been adopted into a family where there were Masons on, I think she said her grandfathers on both sides of that family line, they were Masons, and she shared some of the just abuse that she went through. And then also later in this town, the small town that her family had moved to, it turned out, if I remember correctly, I think she was saying that many of the people in that town were involved in the Satanism and the witchcraft, and they really put her through quite a lot. And her father was not there a lot. He was working, and her mom was dealing with alcoholism and pretty much didn't believe what she was saying, because again, as TI, some of this we can relate to, in the sense that our perpetrators, they wear that mask, and it's only if, we know what they're doing to us, because, they get our attention. They want us to be aware of what they're doing to us, and they also want us to be aware that it is subtle, and that many times it is futile to try and tell other people, because of the gaslighting and such that they do, that we won't be taken seriously. And so she, again, that aspect of it was what she was dealing with. And then later, as a teen, moving further south into the Bay Area, just experiences that she had. But she shared that she had a chance as a little girl to go to a camp, a church camp during summer camp, and she was saved. And yet she still went through these events. And at the end of the interview, she shared her testimony, and it was really strong. Her conviction and love and faith in the Most High was there. And at one point she said that she thanked the Most High for having preserved her. And this was after just sharing just these horrendous experiences that she had. And the host of the show, he was like, the Most High allowed you to go through these experiences. How can you feel this way? And she shared, okay, I'm paraphrasing, but one of the things that she said was that she did not become like them. She didn't become like those people who did those horrible things to her. And as she was saying that, the Holy Spirit just kind of just reminded me of what happened to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And that's in the book of Daniel, in I think chapter 3, where the Most High allowed them to be cast into the fiery furnace. I mean, think about that for a second. He didn't miraculously transport them to the other side of the Babylonian Empire, where they never had to deal with the those wicked, counselors, the king's counselors ever again, and life was just, easy peasy lemon squeezy. He allowed them to be put in the fiery furnace, bound with their, with all of their clothes on. And he was so, remember, Nebuchadnezzar was so angry with them that he turned it up. I think it says that it was that he said he turned it up. He had them turn it up 7 times higher, to cast even more wood or oil or whatever it was that was fueling the fire, to raise it up 7 times higher. And Paul and Silas, that was another one that the Holy Spirit reminded me of. The Most High allowed them to be bound and shackled and thrown in prison. The same with Peter. And even more, look, he allowed his son to be captured by the Pharisees and scribes, to be tormented and tortured through the night, where they ripped out parts of his beard. They were, smacking him and punching him in the face. They lashed him with whips. They literally drove a crown of needles, spikes, thorns into his head, into his scalp, into his forehead. He allowed them to ridicule him and parade him through the town, to be, in front of the public, to be derided, to be, in derision, forcing him to carry, his own stake. And at one point they did get someone to help him carry it. And then he allowed them to nail him to it. The Most High allowed that to happen. Hands above his head, nailed in place. Feet, one atop the other, nailed in place. And we know that the other thing that the Spirit reminded me of was that the weapon didn't prosper, which is what this woman was saying. She didn't become like them. She did not become like those people, and that's in it's in Isaiah. I'm finding here Isaiah 54. Isaiah 54, verse 17, where literally the Most High promised, any weapon formed against you, that it will not prosper. And look at that. A weapon, targeting is a weapon that's being used against us. It is a weapon. But the question is, does it prosper? And what does that mean? How can you tell if the weapon prospers? And many of us, we can say, well, look, the fact that we have been isolated and kicked out of our families, where many of us, our families won't have anything to do with us. And yes, some of it is we're choosing not to be, have anything to do with them, because depending on who they are and what they're into, maybe we don't want to be around them. But a lot of times because of the gaslighting, we don't have a lot of people who will take us seriously. We, do have issues on our jobs. We lose our jobs. We have issues with our neighbors. So from that respect, we can say, somebody might be able to argue and say, well, this weapon is prospering. But is it really? As a righteous TI, where we are walking this narrow road, where we are keeping the commandments, where we are living our lives in such a way that the Holy Spirit stays with us, that the fruits of the Holy Spirit are with us, to work as a comforter, to work as a guide, are those weapons prospering? One of the things that I came away with from just what the Holy Spirit shared with me, and what that woman was saying, was that the weapon prospers if we become like our perpetrators. If she had, with everything that she went through, if she had joined as an adult one of these secret wicked groups, and started wearing one of those robes and get in front of an altar and doing abominable things to animals and to small children and to infants and even to adults, then that weapon that was used against her, it would have prospered. If Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if they had, said, stop, don't throw us in the fire when the music plays, we'll worship your God, that weapon would have prospered. If the Son of the Most High our Messiah, if he had called down a legion of angels and blasted those wicked scribes and Pharisees into smithereens, then the weapon would have prospered. How? He would never have been nailed to the stake. He would never have gone down into hell for 3 days and risen again, meaning he would never have conquered death. He would have never conquered sin. We would have nothing to hope for. We, as righteous, targeted individuals who are putting our faith and our hope in that promise that we're going to get blessings, that we're going to get a crown of life, we wouldn't have that. The weapon that the wicked one had used through those Pharisees and scribes, it would have prospered. If we, as targeted individuals, if we give in to the anger and the frustration and we start looking for a payback, if we start doing to these perpetrators what they're doing to us, if we start, yelling and accusing these people who are doing, the public theater, the street theater on us, if when somebody comes up behind us, drives up behind us and turns on their brights, if we slam on the brakes and make them rear end us and, we leap out of the car and start cussing and getting into a fight with them, if we start hacking into someone's email accounts because we know that they're hacking into ours, if we start gossiping and backbiting and doing, to them what they're doing to us at work, then the weapon prospers. Yes, we can say right now we're in the crosshairs. I mean, look, I'm not hiding it. You can see these bags, these dark circles under my eyes where clearly, okay, the torment and a lot of what I'm dealing with, it still goes on. The sleepless nights, this stuff, it still goes on. It ebbs and it flows. Okay? If I want this to get even worse and make the weapon prosper, well, then I'm going to give in and I'm going to start doing vengeful things to people who I think are doing them to me. Okay? But I don't want the weapon to prosper. And again, going back to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they got thrown into a fire, and Nebuchadnezzar said, wait a minute, we only threw 3 people in the fire, but I'm seeing 4 people. And this is what one of the things that the Holy Spirit showed me was that when we're in the midst of it, that's when the Son of Man, one of the titles for the Messiah, that's when he's there. That's when he is really working, is when we are going through it, when they are brightening you. Okay, when they've got the convoy of red cars or white cars or whatever color cars they're using, and they're following you and they're harassing you, and you don't give in and you stay focused and you keep your hands on the wheel, and if the Holy Spirit tells you to pull over, you pull over. If the Holy Spirit tells you to just keep driving, maybe just block them out and you make it home safely, or you make it to your destination safely, well then that's when he's in that fire with you. It might not feel like it, but that's when he's in the fire with you. Sometimes I think we want it to be the proof that the weapon doesn't prosper, the proof that he is working for us, is if we don't ever go through anything. If life is easy peasy, well then yeah, he must be working. He must be doing it. But I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to the episodes that I did for the video, for the podcast, this fiery trial. We're in a fire. We are precious metal, and we are put into a fire, and the fire is cranked up. And remember, I've mentioned it several times in so many different episodes, but the idea is that the precious metal is put in the fire, it's turned up, the fire is so intense it's a fire. Peter likened it unto the fire that is used to melt precious metal, to bring all of the impurities to the top so that they can be scraped off, and then you have this refined pure silver, refined pure gold, refined bronze. Okay, where these precious metals are at, where they're just pure, they're just perfect. All of the impurities, all of the sand and the pebbles and the dirts and grains that have been mixed into those metals deep in the earth over eons and eons, it's all The fire is so hot it melts it and it rises up and it's scraped off. That's comparable to what it is that we're dealing with. And we want that fire, we want to go through these so that we can get those impurities up and have them purged out. So we don't want the weapon to prosper. And one of the ways that we can know that the weapon doesn't prosper, okay, is if we don't give in and become like them. And we want to, like with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, being thrown in the fire, being thrown into these trials, and that's when we know that the Son of Man is working for us, that he is right there by us. And I think it's almost like what the experience that Elisha had, where he was with his servant and they were surrounded by the Syrian army, and he couldn't, the servant couldn't see what Elijah saw, and finally he asked the Most High to open his servant's eyes, and he saw that the mountain was filled with chariots of fire that were working, that were there fighting for him, for those two people. And that's what we want. We want him to be there. We'll go through it. You know, we will have people messing with us and doing things to us and tormenting us in the middle of the night and walking through our dreams and doing all kinds of just, you know, at their altars, murmuring all kinds of vicious, vile things and casting horrible spells against us. But the Holy Spirit, that's when he's there. That's when the Son of Man is there. That's when the fruits of the Holy Spirit are working. And that's what we want. That way, we don't give in, because we don't want that weapon to prosper. We don't want to be like them. The worst thing that could ever happen to you, the worst thing that could ever happen to me, is if I become like my perpetrator. And that's what I don't want. Okay. Shalom.